Okay, good morning. This is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching doing the market preview for Tuesday, the 28th of May. And let's see, past performance is not indicative of future results. Need to throw this up really quick if you can read it at your convenience. Assuming it's going to come up. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Let's try this again. Oh, I didn't like that, did it? Okay, we'll just close this down. That should do it, maybe. There we go. And let's try that one more time. Oh, heck, it's not coming up, but we won't worry about it, I guess. Past performance is not indicative of future results. This is for educational purposes only. No, I have it here somewhere. Let's try this one more time. Past performance is not indicative of future results. This is for educational purposes only. Basically, I'm showing you my trade plan in hopes that it makes you a better trader. However, a couple things to realize. Number one, I lose money from time to time. Number two, I'm not perfect. My methodology has a high win rate, and it gives you big extensions. But setting those up is just not as easy as ABC, right? And I goof my own process sometimes, right? What I hope to do is that you'll learn what I do. You take what you like and you leave the rest. And hopefully it makes you a better trader. That's my goal, right? That's my 2 cents. You can read the disclaimer if you like in a moment. Anyways, getting started for the day. Let's go look at the profiles real quick. And let's start with CL for the day. Let me see if I can find the CL profile, which I can. I feel a little bit like Mr. Magoo with having had too much time off. Here's the CL profile. And I can't ever tell. So we'll do it like this. There we go. Did my charts off of this one, so we'll play with this one so we can see what's going on. Okay. Number one on CL. So I chart from the US session only. I don't care about the overnight. It's not the only way to do it, but it's the way that I do it, right? So number one, we are up into a white zone. This is the last piece on this day that needs to be repaired. We're in it right now. It's basically 59.37 to 59.57, let's call it, right in here, right? And what I'm really looking for is a pattern where either we get in, reject out, which I think we've already done that this morning. Looking at the chart, you can see from the smaller range bar, the 7 range bar, that we rejected out of that 59.30. Really, for a pretty nice trade, it was a 40-tick trade around 6 in the morning, right? We rejected 2 times out of that area. What I'm really looking for in this area, bud, is to get over, backside test, hold, then get underneath. And once we get underneath, if I can get a backside test back into that, once I get this pattern, that's where I'm looking for the push to the downside. If you look back to the left on this chart, and damn, I know what the problem is with this chart. This is the one that's not loading very many days. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to this chart and just duplicate it. I think I've already done that. Here we go. This will be easy. There we go. Okay, so if you look back to the left, look at everyone we're trapped above, like that whole block from here. All these people, like, they're trapped. There's no question. I don't know why it's not letting me do this, but we'll try to see if it will. There we go. That whole area, we're underneath this whole area. So this would naturally serve as resistance on a pushback up. I mean, people put in a lot of effort and a lot of delta and a lot of buying power to push it higher, and they're kind of stuck. The last time we had something that looked like this, I'm going to show you, was back over here. Okay, so you can see it in the inverse here. See all the selling pressure that was put in over here? Well, you can't see the selling pressure, but I promise you there was, trying to get this market to move lower. If you just box that out like this, right? See, once we closed above, they pressed back in, pressed back in, pressed back in, but then they got squeezed up. Or you can use the inverse here. This became resistance above, right? And when we pressed in underneath it, that's where they get the energy release below. And if you go back just a little bit further, you can see again, a ton of energy was put in up here. and trying to make this market roll to the upside, right? See, once we closed underneath, they backside test, backside test. Notice they never closed this gap from 1018 to 1025, and that's what started the big roll to the downside, right? So we don't know that we'll have that, number one. Number two, notice that when we did get underneath this whole lip, right? Notice the consolidation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, till we finally got to the 8th day, right, over a week before it actually broke away and rolled. So you could be right and be wrong in this consolidation. If you're shorting in the hole, it can chop you before it actually rolls and gets going to the downside, if it's going to get going to the downside, right? Assumption. So the key there was the gap never filled. And I'm talking about, when I talk about the gap there, I'm talking about the gap, Dalton's gap, not the settle price gap. Dalton's gap just simply never filled, right? Nor did we get a half gap in there. So if we use that same example of what we're looking at right now, so I like it when markets repeat. They don't always repeat, but it sure gives me a pretty good clue. At least they're rhyming, right? So when I look at this chart, right? So I know we're pushing up in the white zone, but what I don't want, right, as long as we don't fill that 6103, and if you look, there's an untested naked volume point of control in mid of the half gap, which I will be shorting, by the way. If we get in there, I'm looking for a way. I've highlighted it on the charts that I've posted to members. I'm looking for a way to short into this location. There's zero question in my mind about that, but I want to be short in this area. And once I need to post a note. Okay, that's where I'm looking. If I can get into this, or this white zone is my choice B, right? If we can get an over-under pattern, and I'll let the market determine which one I'm going to press from. But either one of these locations, either this 59.34, 59.52, or that must be someone else's car, or the 60.35 to 60.41, that's the area I'm looking to launch rolls to the downside. Now, it doesn't have to break down. It doesn't have to go to the downside, but these are awfully good locations to look for rejection and rotations lower. And I'll let the chart set me up for that trade. If we look from the 15 range, what's going on? So I'm shifting gears now, right? I'm going from the big chart. I've already posted my levels. What am I looking for? Well, if you look overnight, and you look from Friday, actually, it's a great example, right? So not paying any attention to this, because this just kind of helps me regulate and figure out where I want to enter and exit trades, right? But if you'll look over here, what I'm looking for is to get divergence on the MACD as we're pushing up or down. So I'm going to go back to Friday afternoon. You'll see that as we push into the low over here, I'm not looking for a cross, but just notice as that were the low, the MACD is already lifting, right? See that right there? So if the MACD is already lifting, what are my entries? Well, there's my last shift down. There's a close above my last shift down. There's my backside test right into this area and my lift to the upside. Of course, I wasn't going to stay here any longer. Excuse me, that's into Thursday, but it also rolled into Friday. That's right, Friday. I wasn't going to stay here, but that was a turn right there on Friday. I had to leave to take my daughter to lunch. But as you can see, that was a beautiful lift to the upside. There's your last shift down, and I'm looking for various patterns. Fractal up, fractal down, shift to the downside at the low, and then get above that last shift down, push to the upside for a roll. And that's off the 15 range, right? And then I'm looking for the 15 range for the bigger push. And then if you look what we have to get above from that perspective, here's your last big push down, right? See this right here? There's the top. Actually, this bar right here. That is the top of the last push down. If we highlight that range, right? And then we go to the right. Look how we've squeezed above on Monday. And now we're pushing off into the upside. So what happened there when we look at this picture? The market attempted to come up. We attempted to get continuation. There was a big seller there. I'd say big delta push, right? And they made some progress to the downside, and they just ran out of juice, right? We got the last little push down right here. We got above it. We pushed back into the mid of the wave, rejected, into the top of the wave, rejected, retested the bottom, held. That was early yesterday, right? Around 3 or 4 in European session. We were grinding all the way up through yesterday's session. We got above in early Asia, backside tested, almost again to the mid of this down wave over here. And you got to realize, why do I keep referring to this instead of these big delta pushes to the upside? Because this is where someone invested heavily in pushing to the downside. As long as we're holding above this, we need one of two things. Either we need a big push on top and to get underneath, which right now our last biggest push. So I have two ways of measuring this, either through height or through width. I'm going to go with width because this was a sustained push. And you'll notice these two delta waves are lining up, right? So guess what I want to be short? Outside of that white zone, I am aiming to get below whatever the heck that is, because I don't have the number set up on this, 58.21. So we're at 59.51. But I know in the back of my head, and I have written down in my journal, 58.20. Below that, we have the potential of being able to release and have a substantial move to the downside. I want to show you all what that looks like so you can understand from a bigger picture. All right. See this over here where we had this big wave over here, and now we needed an equal wave to get underneath. So they tried very hard to push to the downside, and we never got above. If you see, they were never able to get above. But what we needed to release, right? See this push right over here? See this big push right at the base, right, which matched up with this big push down. And as soon as we get underneath it, you can draw a line right there. That's the bottom of that wave. Once we got underneath, that's what gave the release to the downside. So we have one, right, on a bigger bar, 15 range. I've got a big, at least locally, I've got a big push down. Then I had an equal push up, and what I need to do is to get underneath that. So right, as of right now, that 58.20 is still my big line in the sand. Why? I'm above both those waves. Buyers have overall control. So I either need another big push like this that accomplishes one or two things. Either this big push gets me underneath 58.20, then I'm just aggressively looking for short entries, right? Or I get a new big push down from up in this area, right? Matched by a subsequent big push up, and I get underneath both of them. I can then X both of these off of my chart as being important on my radar and shift over to the new information and start attacking either the longer or the short based on how it sets up, right? So that's my 2 cents. I don't have either one right now other than this completes the auction to the upside in this general area. And you can see we're starting to get rejection out of that. And the way that lines up on a 5-minute chart is it looks like, and I'm moving fast because I intend to be totally done by the time that opening bell rings, and I only have a couple of minutes. So if I look at CL, not wrong chart. Let's see, CL, 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 ES, CL. There we go. So the way that translates on a 5-minute chart so far, and I posted these actually yesterday morning, right? Rejection, close to rejection, now into the white zone. And what I want to see is either, so I can just short this and attempt, if it doesn't close above, go, that's going to hold. But if we get above, either way, whether we get above or we just hold underneath, I want to see us get back underneath and do one more backside test. And then I'll attempt to shoot for that 58.60 to the downside would be my goal out of that area. And then 58.20 all the way down here, right? That's the bottom of that rotation. You can see they're actually, okay, so the reason why I have blue zones in this area is these are former, this is Friday's point of control. And inside of Friday's value, and it can get traded through easily. So remember, in this area, I'm actually looking for setups to get continuation to the downside. And I don't necessarily want to cover if I get into 58.20. I'm hoping that we get underneath, maybe come into 57.90, backside test up into 58.20. And that'll, after this support area holds, if we can backside test back up into this area with a continuation lower, or choice B is come all the way through here, backside test this for a continuation lower. Either way, there's a ton of resistance up above, and I'm looking for profiles and setups that'll help me get short out of this area or mid of the half gap up here, one of the two. And I don't know which one it'll reject out of. I just know both these areas have the potential to set up really nice short trades, right? And I'll let the chart do the rest of the work for me. Okay, let's go look at ES next. And I just missed my favorite entry on that trade. Son of a gun. That's all right. I didn't have divergence into it. Okay, let's park this down over here. And let's go to the ES profile. And I'm going to have to do the same thing here because I'm not getting enough dates pulled back on my second setting. So let's duplicate chart. Let's go over here. And how many days do I have to load? Probably too many. Let's do 100. Should make it quicker. And erase all lines. It's just going to take a second, guys. Remember, the idea is to be relaxed and let your setup come to you. If you get behind on the count, meaning you miss a trade or the trade doesn't go the way you want it to, expect stops, right? If you set that in your mindset that you're going to have some stops, if you're day trading, you're going to have some stops in there, right? Make sure you pay attention to how many stops you can take and what your max drawdown is for the day so you can adjust. And then also be aware of what time frames you're more comfortable trading in. Over the last 3 months, the first 30 minutes has been awesome, right? Over the last week, the first 30 minutes has been a chop zone and been pretty hard to trade because the market got faster. I am skipping the first half hour for better or for worse. I'm going to let it just do what it needs to do and look for my setups outside of 9 a.m. Okay, and before I do that, really quick so I can cover it, I always say, oops, I should have looked and I didn't look. So we're going to look. We have um, 9 a.m. CB consumer confidence, whoever CB is, I'm not sure. I don't even care. And that's about it. Let's see if there's anything for the Asian session. Looks like New Zealand dollar. Who cares? Doesn't really affect us one way or the other. We don't have anything else all day. So 9 a.m. and we're done with the econ for the day. And even that doesn't look very interesting. Obviously, trade news from China and Trump tweets all day long. Standing risk. What are you going to do about it? Shrug your shoulders. Just anticipate the potential for some stops. If we look at ES, right, number one, we have a big window there. See that? We've already filled the mid of the half gap. Top of the window, bottom of the window. Most important part on that whole chart as of the last couple of days. Actually, I take it back. Mid of the half gap is still open. We have not exceeded it. And it sits right where that naked volume control. See how we just tagged it and rejected right out of there, out of that 2840. And if you look at 2820, right, a lot of people have their eyes on 2820 as a key area. I would actually say that double bottom. I don't see anything that jumps out at me at 2820. Makes me go, oh my gosh. Except for, if you look all the way back here, that 2820 level, right, was the level at which we broke out from, backside tested, attempted below, failed, and got above. If we consolidate underneath this 2820 from a bigger picture, it opens us up to come down. See how underneath 2820 there's no naked volume points of control that have been untested? If I erase this, right, see how all of this has all been tested. There's one TPO point of control that's been untested, but it's by itself instead of being side by side, which makes them stronger. So the clear target, when I see that, and I see a lack of points of control underneath, it creates potential vacuums or big whooshes to the downside. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So see back over here, if you go back to February, the reason that's important it's in here somewhere. There we go. Okay. So see up here when we were hanging up here and I go, hey guys, look, I would say, like when we're hanging up here, I'd go, hey, look, this has been taken out. When we're trading, so if we were trading over here on 3.5 and I'm looking at this day and I go, hey, the point of control underneath has been taken out. So if we're trading up here at 2,800, I go, the market naturally wants to test this naked point of control and this volume point of control. It does not mean it'll hold it, but it acts as a magnet to push to the downside if you can get a break in the momentum to the downside, right? And if you look underneath, if this goes, this became the natural target. Now, neither one have to hit. it just lets you know, hey, this is what needs to be repaired underneath. And unless we get other pieces of information that fill in between these 2 points, that's where the market will want to go. And then the same is true to the upside. Notice above here how there's no points of control above, so that once we take all this out, like when we're down here, I'd go, hey, the natural area, if we can take out this point of control, would be this, followed by this, followed by that volume point of control up there. And you can see how each location ended up acting as a magnet to the upside for the market. And it works the same way up and down. So when we come over here and we use that as our same kind of get oriented on the map, this needs to be taken out, but it's almost been tested. So really what stands out is that 28.58 and 27.84. There's not much in between, right? And given the weakness, you would think underneath that 28.20 area that we have a pretty good chance to make it down into 27.84. So if we get weak, I get my setups to the short side, and I can somehow get a trade hooked up so that I can get a push to the downside. That is what I will be pushing for. In the meantime, right, if we look from overnight, let's shift gears for a second. So we know where the important support resistance zones are on the chart. But if we look, I forget which this was, if anything. Hold on. It was nothing. On ES, three minutes. It's a lot of pressure. So I'm going to skip NQ so I can be focused. That's a 3 range bar on ES, right? So number one, no divergence into the high, but B, that should last since Friday, right? 28.40 to 28.20. This is the definition of balance, right? So when we look, and the reason I say that is because when we look at smaller bars, we go, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about the third thing? Well, no, actually not. It doesn't matter. It just simply doesn't matter. We're in balance. You're going to try and trade. The worst place to trade, here, I'll draw it up. It's pretty easy to see. Dun, dun. 28.30 to 28.35 is the hardest place to trade. It's the mid of that balance area, right? No one has an opinion there. People have an opinion on short above. They have an opinion on longs below. And clearly, out of that consolidation, there's your double bottom right there, roughly just above 28.25 to 28.20. So not being the genius that I'm not, right? Being the genius that I'm not, I can look at that and go, well, geez, I got to get underneath 28.20 to 28.25 to roll lower. So that's your formula for the day. Don't get caught up in chop. If you're going to trade this, assume balance until we either break above 28.40 and push, right? Or we get underneath 28.20 and short set up from consolidation for a roll to the downside. And in the middle, hit and run, hit and run, hit and run. It's not that trades can't be had there. You have to have a higher skill level. And if you're going to try and push for a trade in one direction or another out of balance, that can be a very frustrating occupation to be in. And most people do better if they'll wait to get out of balance to trade, right? Because then you actually have the chance for the directional move, which is what we all want at the end of the day. So scalp inside, push for a directional move outside. My suggestion would be patience until we work this out one way or the other. There's no need to get run over unnecessarily, in my opinion. That's my 2 cents. So anyway, that's all I got for the day. Let's get started. I'm going to skip on NQ so I can just kind of watch as we set up. And then guys in the room, if we'll just work as teammates, point out where we're getting waves or divergences, and then we can go to work to see if we can get the setup and be patient. We should have a good week. There's nothing impeding us. Last week was a pretty good week. Outside of the technical issues I suffered on Friday, I think I would have had, I couldn't trade my regular account on Friday, but I think it would have been a very good day. And I still anticipate having pretty good days throughout the course of this, throughout the course of the week. Really only had one off day, and that's because I took a big shot to the upside on Thursday, and it just didn't work out, right? Had I treated that as I treat most of my days as scalps, it would have been a much different picture. So any questions in the room, guys? Everyone's muted. Let's go to work. So what I'm going to do is switch over to C. I'm going to take NQ off, put CL on. That's what covers the majority of what people are trading in the room. You can see the divergence we have. Excuse me, there's the high. Let's see how we're pushing back up against that cross on the MACD right there. And see how we just had that speed bar up. followed by a red bar down. So if you're looking for a setup, your stop, I put my stop right above that right there, 59.50, but that's your location to see if you can't get a push to the downside. Just make sure you check off on, and we're in a white zone, right? Just make sure you check off on your various charts to make sure you're in an area where you're willing to take the stop. That stop's over here, 59.53. So you basically have a 10-cent stop to see if that trade will work, right? So that's my 2 cents. Sorry about that. Let me kill that. So I think that's a halfway decent. You had a speed bar up, followed by immediately by a red bar. If you don't get above that, and I would actually adjust for this, one penny behind, right? But if you don't get above these 2 bars right here, see how they try to shove up? Usually we'd expect follow through on that speed bar. You didn't get any. If they can hold underneath that, I'd really say 54 cents. You have a good chance of actually getting a roll to the downside there. It's in the white zone. The reason why I'm saying that is, right, I'm following process. I'm in the white zone. I expect rejection out of that white zone usually, right? It'd be better if it got an over-under, but it doesn't have to, right? It can get in this white zone, get underneath, reject, and come back and test the bottom of balance. And again, 58.20 is where this really needs to get extensions to the downside. So we'll see. That's my 2 cents. Let's see where we go after the first half hour here. What I'm going to do is this. And I'm actually going to pull my ES chart. No. Thank you and ES both driving. And you can see you got a rejection for a dime off that so far on CL. Let me shift gears back to ES. And remember, this is the biggest wave up on CL off the 7 range, right? If we're doing our work clearly. Right. There's the mid of the wave. Getting underneath this wave sets you up for a roll back to the downside. Again, the white zone's up there as well. So my suggestion is you just let it work out. I know I will. And then again, ES and NQ are pushing above their, there is no, if you look at the 5-minute chart, right? Here's ES on the 5. There's your target to the upside, right? We already have it highlighted, right? That goes back to Friday's high. Here's NQ. This is a weak anomaly, right? It's a potential resistance, but it's weak. That 73.82 to 73.99, that's where I'm really looking. See if I can't get a trade picked off in that area. It's right above Friday's high. See if I can't get exhaustion set up for a roll back down. A lot of people are pretty bearish on the market right now, which is fine. I have no issue with that, right? But I'm going to wait till I get it set up perfectly. And again, what I'm looking for is just like what I had in CL. See how I pushed back up after I got these MACDs pointing down. I get it pushed back up. Speed bar up. Speed bar followed immediately by speed bar down. I don't expect to see that in a strong market. I'm willing to take the risk. You already got the dime off if you took the bottom of this bar, right? Your stop came over here. You pretty much had a little bit over a dime of stop. And now you have the potential, if we can get underneath this wave, of getting this extension to the downside and coming back and revisiting the lows down here. That was a pretty setup, right? Okay, so that's it, guys. Let's see if we can make something work here. Obviously, I'm not looking to short into straight up, right? I want something to give me an over. We're getting a general divergence if we can get these pointed back down, right? Shift up followed by a down bar. But again, what do I want to do? I'm above my last sell waves, right? Above my last sell waves. It's normal to expect a short squeeze above this, right? Someone pressed pretty hard here. We got above them, right? Speed bar shift up. If I'm uber aggressive, I'm getting a speed bar shift up followed by a down bar, right? In ES. If you're aggressive and you can take the stop on that, that's often a good place to potentially enter a trade, right? Your entry on that would be 28.37. Your stop on that would be 28.39 and a quarter, right? If that's set up, if it's set up as key words and you're comfortable trading in the first couple of minutes, which is the other key word there, right? That has not triggered as of yet. Beautiful move to the downside there on CL if anyone captured that. Remember to trail if you did. Potential open drive higher on ES and on NQ, right? Again, I think that's a gap within range. So that setup went away even for an aggressive trade. And now look how big this wave is. We clearly, right, are going to want to get underneath that wave. Right, so now our line in the sand right now shifts to right here. And that marks the wave. Mid of the wave. So now we have some guidelines to look to get an idea of what it might look like if we're going to push back to the downside. See how beautiful rejection of that white zone. First time in. See if they'll set us back up to something for continuation back down. Switch gears. And look at that. That was pretty. Now you're underneath that wave. First close underneath. What are we all looking for? Keep up on your rotations and your setup. Second close underneath and failure to get above the top of the wave opens this up for a rotation down. Number one is good. All right, so we'll mark it off. There's the first close underneath. All right. Okay, first close. Now let's see if we can get a push back in and get a second close. We all know that's much higher odds making that work. I will try to make that work from a rotation down standpoint, right out of the white zone. If I can get a second, if I can push back into the mid of that wave, and then get a second close underneath. If I get no other setup, I will attempt the second close underneath that wave, guys. NQ on fire, big freaking wave there. Off the 5 range, no divergence. $73.45 becomes pretty damn important for both the bears and the bulls at this point. That area. So sometimes it can go on the first close. I'd prefer to see a second close in and maybe get my short-term oscillator to push up, right, to give me a location and see if we push back into the mid of that area. In the meantime, we'll wait for, there's no divergence on the MACD. There's overall divergence, but there's no local divergence yet. So keeping my heads up for that. And notice how we had a potential short set up here. Had this bar been negative, let's see how rarely it actually, if it's not going to roll, it actually doesn't set up. Damn, it just rolled. I didn't wait. Too bad. Well, there should be another setup somewhere there today. Remember, econ top of the hour, and then it's kind of nothing, right? This is a minor anomaly. NQ is actually pushing up into a key area, right? It's mid of the half gap. Normally, it'd be pretty damn aggressive. Excuse me, ES is pushing in. NQ is still short of the mid of the half gap. ES is pushing in if we look at where we're at. So here's ES, right? This is the mid of the half gap. We already rejected out of there. This is the untested naked volume points of control and TPO points of control, right? And above that brings up 28.51 and a quarter, which is Dalton's gap fill, and then 28.60 to 28.58. Those are the areas, right? So there's no anomaly up here to really repair. So my guess is we'll eventually find a way to push up into this location, and then we'll see what we set up with, right? But this is still, keep in mind how many people are trapped up above as we're getting pretty aggressive coming out of the Tuesday into this day. Just keep in mind there's just not a lot to help or hurt in this area, right? And it's kind of weird that we're just up and then going on Tuesday. What's the driver, right? So here's NQ. You can see we've pushed right into the weaker anomaly. There's a little volume build there. This completes this anomaly from 524. The mid of the half gap is actually right here, and we haven't exceeded it again. I would expect to test into that 82 to 92, but you've got to get past that and close Dalton's gap fill at 74.19 to really repair the chart and start moving back higher. Until then, this is just filling in areas on the chart in general, right? So that's my 2 cents. Still would like a backside test back up into this area. That was a nice setup from 59.40 down to 59.06, and I was not aggressive enough on that trade. I took some, but I did not load the boat on that trade. Kind of my warm-up trade for the day. And I got my favorite setup on NQ at the top. I didn't take it. I was slow. We got shift up, followed by immediate speed bar fractal shift down. So always interesting to see how strongly markets are up. I'm very inclined to let them do what they need to do this morning. Turn off low power mode.
Okay, I turned off low power.
Shift down, followed by speed bar up on NQ is forming. That usually means we're going to get some new highs up there, maybe get some divergence. We still haven't pushed into the resistance area, or the key resistance that I have, which is higher, 7380 all the way to 7400 on NQ, and we have open drive higher, so we'd be surprised by seeing higher prices. I wouldn't. Literally, we had if you have this on your screen, you'll see it. Shift down, speed bar. That speed bar holds at 62 against 57. I'd expect higher prices, right? So it's 62 and a quarter against 57. See if they can come up with anything to the downside there. Damn, that seal was perfect. Damn, 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 damn. I did not load the boat up on that. And it went on the first close. I was ready. That's what I was looking for off the second close underneath, was a roll under. So let's hope we get one more press back up into that area. In the meantime, we know what we have to accomplish on NQ and on ES. Right now, we're just testing the mid of the last wave up on NQ. Right, and you can see how it's holding. You usually get one more test back up. And again, from the daily perspective, the resistance is higher. Econ in 7 minutes. New biggest wave up on ES on the 3 range. Bigger range, right? But it shifts our line in the sand. So let's do that. Assuming this prints, this will end up being our wave. If this goes away, I'm going to have to change, but that's potentially the new wave. That'll be the bottom of the wave no matter what. Bringing you up to 28, 29, 50 is your new bogey. We're getting underneath, right, from a bigger perspective. That's where the release will come from if we get a roll to the downside. $58.20 is still the bogey on bigger picture CL or bigger release. Great example if I didn't scalp out of this, like if I looked for long, notice how we have no divergence, no cross, no nothing down here. All I have is shift down, positive bar. See how that gave me an immediate scalp out of that trade for 10 cents, but if I tried to stick it, I'd have gotten stopped. I want divergence in that MACD to really want to press, right? And then I now have to get above this wave. This is the last wave down, but this is now hanging over my head. Below my biggest push down and my biggest push up. This is resistance up above now. Four minutes till econ, so just kind of on cruise control. If we can push up here, right, we would end up with divergence through here. We want nothing better than for this to push down and this to push up. I'm all out on that CL, by the way. I did not take enough size on that trade originally. I just wasn't ready to go. And obviously, it was the first few minutes of the market open. The trade's harder there, to say the least. I got no setup, long or short, in ES or NQ. I had this off the top on NQ, and I was talking right when I made the example. If I'd seen this right here, that would have been a short for me for 10. But really, there's nothing there till we get underneath this wave now. Two minutes till econ. That's long on ES usually. It's 9 o'clock. I got to wait a minute. Let the data go, but that would usually be considered shift down, speed bar up. That's pretty damn good for continuation. The dump break underneath that blue speed bar that just printed, break new highs. Which translated means if you're looking for continuation, that's your entry and your stop, right? You're just trading right around nudes, and you've got a cross on the MACD, and you have both pointing to the downside, so you have no divergence. But if you're playing for the trend day up, or the continuation, that's your entry, exit, stop. Basically, is 1 point behind that blue speed bar. I'm not playing it for that, so I'll just wait. I know a bigger picture. We're pushing up into resistance. I'll try to find a trade that sets me up appropriately. Down to the bottom, 78.48 on NQ. And I don't have to guess where the entry will come from because I'll just know. Shift down, speed bar up, delta divergence, MACD divergence, something to that extent that'll let me know, hey, this is where I need to take this trade. Fractal trendline break, right? All kinds of things that can help me with that trade, but I don't have to guess is my whole point. I can wait for it to come back for me. This 58, 59 area is the backside test of Friday's high, which again is what I'm still keen off of on CL. Watch for a break at the 62 retrace from the open and from the swing low on NQ and ES. ES is reject. See how we rejected out of the top of that and from the yellow. We didn't quite make it to the ozone. My guess is we make it up in here one more time. That would run all the stops and push us up into resistance. this holds right here, that 28.37 low holds, you have a pretty good entry exit stop. All right. And the thing that's preventing that is you don't have any divergence there, right? So you're just going to bet on the continuation there. You're not extended to the downside or anything else. You're just going to bet they're going to come back on it and push up. You're right, Zach. If you want to attack that, that's a good place. I don't have divergence, so I'm going to wait. But you're correct. I want divergence right here before I attack that. But you are correct. That's probably worth the scalp. Zach's pointing out that we got shift up followed by a down bar, which often leads to a rollback or continuation trade. Now it's fractal shift down, Zach. If you hold that fractal, you're in good shape. If you got that. Nice trade, brother. Good eyes. I've got technically my first bar. It's actually the whole bar is not out, but so I'll wait. But they're attempting to close below the wave on NQ. So we'll have first bar. I actually like the whole bar and the point of control underneath, and I'm looking for the second bar to close underneath the last big wave up for the roll to the downside. I will take half and half on that, stop on top of the wave. So that ends up being a 20-point stop, $400 a contract, right? It's a swing setup. It's not a scalp setup. The other thing you can do is if you get a shift up, like here, the shift up, bar down right here, this particular speed bar, shift up, bar down. See how I gave that roll down? That's the alternate entry you can look for on NQ and on ES. As Zach just so ably noted, it works on CL as well. Joyce, see if you're on the N contract or the M contract. Should say N. Oh, you know what? No, wait. On CL? Yeah, it should say N on it. CLN. See if the one I saved for you says CLM. Change it from M to N on chart settings. See if that works. It does say N. I don't know what's wrong. I'll have to look at it later. Something's wrong. You're not downloading the data. Close everything down and reopen it. If not, when it slows down, I'll look at it, but I can't do it right now. Nice heads up, Zach. I missed it. Damn. I didn't miss it. Just I wanted divergence. On the other hand, shift down, speed bar up. Right. We're clearly pushing back down on divergence here now. So if we can get a shift down at the bottom and then some type of up bar, could bring us back up to retest that 59.30. We're most likely in balance at this point, right? Nice roll down on ES. Just missed that yellow zone. Big up wave matched by equally big down wave. So you get above this, right? It's a lot of work. Right, so now you get above, and you probably have a potential short squeeze back up into this area, right? Particularly by the mid of this wave at this point. All right, so we'll just keep up with it. Underneath the biggest wave, here's close one on CL, just keeping up on NQ, excuse me. All right, no matter which one I use, either this one or this one or this one, either one of them, I'm going to count them all as instance number one. So if I get back up in here and I get a second close underneath, all right, I'm going to attack that to the short side, right? Down wave, get above it, push. A lot of people are looking for the short side on CL, which is probably why they're getting the daylight squeezed out of them, right? Joyce, I would suggest this. If your charts aren't working or anything's wrong with your computers, then to anyone, don't trade till you get fixed, all right? Losing money because your stuff isn't working is silly. First time back into the mid of this big wave up, obviously you can see they're responding back up. That shift down into the mid, get a positive bar. I'm willing to take that. My stop would be adjusted a little bit to 28.33, maybe 28.3250. But that shift down, positive bar, and that'll form for a 36 entry long. Right, 35.75, you'd want one tick above to make sure the bar forms. Your stop would go, so since we're in the mid, you'd want your stop to be 1 point below the mid of that bar. So that's 33.50. I would use a 32.50 stop. But it hasn't formed yet. It's got to form before you have a trade. And you don't have divergence, but usually we'll still get a response out of that the first time in. That's tradable. And now that setup is gone. Damn, they're just breaking and rolling this morning. That's what you get for just running it up for no reason on a Tuesday morning. That'll set up a long right there against 77 stop. It'll be a 58.88 against a 57.77 stop for a scalp on CL. Again, no divergence. As a matter of fact, you're crossing back down, so if it doesn't print, that would be about right. This didn't set up, and that didn't set up. So there's no trade there now. Damn. I really wanted that second close underneath. Everything's just freaking melting just as easily it went up. That's a total V shape off the open and behind the 62 retrace on everything. ES, NQ, CL, and CL. So we just sucked in everyone and we dumped everyone. How cool is that? Behind the 62 retrace, right? And holding behind on any product. So here's the open. failure to get back above this equals no bueno, right? So 35.36 is your big number now on the 5-minute chart. And Q, well, they couldn't have been any more vicious to the longs there, could they? And behind the 62 retrace, this thing's in trouble. All right, so there's your numbers. See how they tried to hold it behind? Backside test in this area, probably get some rejection first time in, if you can get it. And CL. Damn you, out of the white zone. That sucks. My best laid plans go awry. 8 o'clock. 62 retrace. See ya. Damn. It's all right. I'm getting more out of you than you're getting out of me today and every day this week, if I had to guess. So come on, people. Backside test in the middle of the wave on ES. No setup for a long on CL. We get above the last shift down, the backside test of that might be good for a scalp. So your entry would be 58.88, stop 58.78, right? If it backside tests that for continuation and a retest of this area. So you have to be willing to take the stop for the scalp. And it's a 10-cent cost for that trade. Just tag the 88, and you want it to hold that downshift. And there's no promise it ever will, right? My favorite is just when you get it right on the turn. Again, that is a scalp setup. I would take a dime, 7 cents to a dime for my first scale on that. See the response off the backside test, the shift down? But it'd be better if we were already getting divergences down here. You are getting a larger divergence if you can get this to cross back up. All right, so what you'd want to do is strip that into a larger divergence, push to a low. There's your divergence on the MACD. And it's a good entry. It's a backside test of the last shift down, right? And then where do you want to come up to? Test at 59.10. And I would scale the first 10 cents, which I am. Those 88, 98's the scale. 1 penny away. Manage as you need to manage it. It's 7 to 10 cents because we don't have the cross yet. As a matter of fact, if you don't get the 98 cents, I would flat the trade here. If it doesn't come back in, meaning don't go flat. Just mean if you can't get the scale or you're not going to take a scale short of that 10 cents, maybe you're stopped to break even because this isn't a super comfortable cross underneath the biggest push. And we're still right underneath the bottom of we're just testing the bottom of this wave, right? So failure to get back into this wave here, right? Backside test, continuation for a roll lower. Right, and we're already underneath the biggest wave up, right, which is back over there, right? So 98 cents, no fill for me. Need one more press. Zach, nice on the first short. I didn't get it. Wish I had. Man, everything got pretty much clocked on that roll down. We're backside testing. So the problem with the longs here, look to your fives, right? Look what we're backside testing into. The 50 retraces off the fives, right? There's going to be resistance up in that. That's the problem with taking the long here on NQ or ES. So the question you have to ask is, do we go balance and hold the upper area, or is that the beginning of a roll down? So my experience tells me that we should not get behind the 62 retrace on a trend day up, and it's a bad sign that often leads to reversals and trend day down. So I'm not looking to short it. I'm not looking to go long it because I don't want to long right into the mid, right? I'm just going to wait to see if I get a decent setup someplace else. I'm still not below my biggest wave up on ES and below the mid of it. And if the other approach you can take is I'm going to short this, and if we don't get a close above this shift down at 36, right, I'm good to go for the continuation lower. It's just a bet. There's nothing magical about that bet. It's just a bet. Top of that, right, is right there, 36.25, and it keeps you on the 5. The mid of that is exactly at 36, 50, 60. So you essentially are saying I don't want it to tick above the 50, 60 retrace off the 5. It's not a horrible bet. And then you're looking for the release down and to break the low. That's what you'd be looking for out of that trade, right? That's not what you'd expect off a speed bar up, again, into resistance, the mid of that wave. I'm not doing anything yet because I'm uncertain. I didn't expect us to see us U-turn like this, quite frankly. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I'm a little frustrated that I missed the whole turn right out of the gate. I assumed we would double tap up there near the highs and give me a second chance on clean divergence to get into the trades and hold them, and they just didn't do it. Right, so that's a great example. I was talking about this with Zach over the weekend. Sometimes you'll have a picture in your head of what you want the trade to look like, and then the setup doesn't match. Right, so I knew I was good. Like CL's a great example, right? I was good to go. I was hoping we got a push back in here, second close below. I was ready to pound it on, excuse me, same thing on NQ, but we'll use CL as the example. All right, up here, I was good to go. I was like, give me a push back into the mid, second close below. I'm ready to pound it on size. I ended up with a roll and push, right? I would have ended up with a 59.25-ish or 58.70 potentially, right? That's what I was looking for. I had that picture in my head. When I didn't get that picture, right, I just didn't want to be, it's Tuesday, right? I'm warming up. I don't want that picture to be my most uber aggressive at the beginning of the week. I want a different picture at the beginning of the week. I want to set up and build a little bit of a cushion so I can get aggressive as the week progresses, right? It just didn't set up the way I wanted it to, and that's okay. Bottom of the hour. Expect a test of IB low, really on all markets between here and 10 a.m. Watch for the springs below the low. So what a spring would look like is we break this rapidly on pretty good delta, hopefully volume as well. Although I don't have the volume up, but you'd want to see this broken. Trap back in, wham, go to the other side of the range. Same thing here. Break the low, right? Press it on volume. It was like, oh, here comes the big break. Bam, slam back in, up you go, right? So I'm looking for it. I'm hoping for it. Same thing on NQ. They don't always give it, but when they do, it's a great trade. We actually want to see it broken and go, oh, here we go. Everyone slams in with volume. Wham, reverse it. Backside up to that 50 retrace again. See how that 32 set up right there? You entered right here. You just use this. 36 is your stop. That was into the 50-60. You got a speed bar up, speed bar down. You could use that 33 against the 36 quarter, right? Or you could just simply short it into it and use the 36 quarters to stop either one, right? And there's your 1-for-1 R plus, right? Now we're getting the break below initial balance, right? We want to see them shove really hard and get trapped down here, preferably. And see how we're getting a little bit of divergence through there. So what we want is shift down, get above, some kind of clue that we're trapping, and push it back the other way, right? May not happen, but I'm heads up for it at least. You're getting divergence into new lows on the MACD on NQ as well. Not on CL, not yet. Anyone else have a different view in the room that y'all like to share? By the way, you should have gotten your 88 off, your 98 and stopped to break even on the CL trade. Sorry, I lifted my attention up, right? But it did push the second time up to that 98. That second time you should have gotten filled, right? If you didn't, you should have your stop right there at 88. No harm, no foul. You took a shot and it didn't work. Everyone on the same page? Push below. I really like to see a shift down underneath there, something to really trap them. Right? Speed bar down, get an up bar, trap back in, any of that for a balanced day. There you got on CL. See that shift? See the speed bar down, green bar up? right? So that could be it on CL. Not taking that again. Right below the biggest wave down. That's just tricky. When everything's stacking up on top of each other like that, I'll wait to get a clear read. And I'd rather be short from up here than long overall. The other way to do that is at 28.32. If we get back above the last shift down, the backside test of that 32, stop 2 ticks below 30 and a quarter. For the shove back up is the other way to look at that trade. So I'm trying to call out the various setups that are coming off the algos, right? And then it's up to each of us to figure out where the risk is, unless I'm just utterly clear and I'm going to call it in the room and go, I'm long here, stop here, type deal like I did with CL a couple minutes ago. But I keep turning that picture around in my head till I can see what I want for the setup. ES was a good example of that as well. Speed bar down, NQ, speed bar up. They're attempting to trap back in on NQ. So this same thing on ES right here. You can use that entry, that 30. They're going to trap it, right? 30, speed bar down, speed bar up. You can use the 28 as a stop on that 2 ticks below for the attempt to trap and push back in. And I'm actually good with that. I'll take the 30 or whatever fill they'll give me. So let's just call it 28.30. And I will stop 28, really 28.28. I'm good. So I'm long, 28.30, stop 28.28. And it is an attempt to get a spring to form. I do not know that that will actually be what happens. Let's stop right there. If you don't like the trade or you think we're going to break lower, by all means, don't take it, right? Manage your risk. Has to get above 73.36 on NQ. Has to get above this 3 down to push back up right there. So 28.33 is roughly what you're targeting up. Is there someone speaking that I'm just not aware of? Right now, that's a stop. 2 points. Is there someone speaking? Because we had like all the juice to the upside, then it's just complete opposite PA from the open. It's a little frustrating. Stop on that ES. Anyone have anything out there? Because it's weird. All of a sudden, we're almost like we're hanging on what someone is saying or someone is speaking, right? Because it goes, it stops, it goes, it stops. It's just odd. Back in this anomaly, it's a light blue anomaly, easily broken, and they busted it on ES. I'm fine with the stop. That part doesn't bother me. The part that's bothering me is just how it's doing it. Like the straight up, straight down is just, yeah. That's what you have to get above to make it go. That last shift down, 28.32 and a quarter. And that's also coincides with, right? Get above, like side test, push up. That's got some work to do. That's really frustrating. Remember, if I get frustrated in my trading, the one thing I have written down in big bold letters across my screen: wait for the next setup. Don't let your agitation overtake you. You'll make a mistake, right? One stop is okay. 5 stops is not okay. I'm going to attempt this one more time with a 28.50 against a 26 quarter stop. 28.50 against a 26 quarter stop. All right, so my stop is literally 2 ticks below the low. And something's sick with the PA, guys. I got to tell you, it's awful. I was just chopping through this. Like, we should lift off of that pretty damn hard, actually. There we go. $30.50 for scale. And we should be able to get that. Something's weird, guys. That's all I can say. That should have gone. You should not see that red bar. As a matter of fact, that should not have happened. I'm just going to flat that trade, that 28.50 right there. Short stop mark at 28 minus 2 ticks. That should not have occurred. I don't know what's going on or why we're getting this series of bars. It should have lifted. So I'm not sure if everyone's just in a stupor, not sure what's going on, but flat 28 minus 2 ticks. Damn, frustrating when you only get one shot at the short and then the longs do not set up. They're pressing down on pretty good divergence here. Say no on ES. But they're not making the long at all easy. And it's below the biggest wave is the problem. They're trying to spring it and trap it back in, and they should. But they are sure making it tough. Like, these are pretty prime setups. Like, both of those should have paid. That's a decent long too. All of that should work. Depth side. I'm not taking it again because I'm confused by the PA. So I'll just wait. It seems weird. I'm just getting too much noise here. See that? That should be a good long setup. It's going to stop instead. So someone or something is speaking. Stuff's just all moving around. Like someone says boo and it's rotating with it, right? As opposed to trading normally where it's just we're ebbing and flowing up and down, right? It's like someone's hanging on someone's word. So I don't know if something's going on in Europe or President Trump's about to speak or what the deal is, but it's weird. That's all I can say. It's not normal. So I'm just pausing. It hurts to have them roll off that first. When you see that wave and you don't get the second close underneath, that sucks. It just goes on the first. $28.20 is big again. Delta divergence, MACD divergence. It's just chopping. It's as hard as it can be. So I'm just going to wait to get some clarity on it, guys. I don't want to get crunched. Guys, I can't figure it out. So I'm going to wait. That was just weird price action. I hear you, Bill. So can you give me a conclusion on that, please, sir? What does that mean to you? Tight stop nightmare for everybody, guys. Just telling you. Yes, thank you. It's herky-jerky trading, guys. Without any clean. The whole rotation is straight up, straight down, right? Toughest to trade. And if you want evidence of that, here you go. CL, 5-minute chart. Straight up, straight down. Pretty much chop since the open, right? Thank you. Straight up, straight down. Look at the chop. I mean, that just blows. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 full minutes of 5-minute bars folding on each other. So they can finally pull their heads out of their backsides and decide they want to push it up. Again, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25th minutes when we finally get any kind of decent extension off of that. Behind that 62 is danger, and I didn't see it, or I would have smashed that backside test. One minute till top of the hour, then we have to contend with London close, and I've got no idea now. It's like we're all standing around waiting for something. It is psycho market trading. I'm telling you, it's just weird, right? That was the lift I was waiting for earlier. You got me. Got me. I mean, wow. Shift down, behind the last shift down, backside test, pressed all the way through it and up. Speed bar, fractal up bar, usually that's good. Speed bar down, that's usually good. Wow, that's just tough series of trades. All I can say. I don't know what everyone was looking for there, but that really blows. Hey, Bill, I sent you a private message on the Slack channel. So in order for all of this to work, right, we have to have some kind of ebb and flow for the market. It can't just go on hold and chop sideways. It doesn't help us, right? So then to go from rotation up to rotation down, I don't expect it to stop and go sideways, right? I expect the rotations to continue, right? Particularly in the morning, the afternoon, maybe. Yeah. So we didn't get that. I'm fine with that, but yeah, that's my 2 cents. There's nothing more annoying than seeing that long and not being able to get it set up and taking a stop on it on top of that. So sorry, guys. That normally is pretty golden right after that 9:30 hour up into 10. But they came back right on both of those. Man, this is bizarro world. That's all I got to say. No news, no nothing. We did a complete sweep of the range both ways, and now we're going for a third sweep the other way. Wow. Okay. I'm not taking any trades one way or the other until I figure out the PA guys. So I'm just on hold. I don't have a clear answer or a clear read, and I don't feel compelled. If I don't get it, I don't get it. But stop is not a taking stops consistently is not part of my trade plan, right? So if I'm not reading this right, I'm all right with that. That's totally fine. Getting stopped repeatedly over and over when you can see it's chop, and then getting the trade that you're looking for to work when you couldn't get it to work otherwise, that's not okay with me. So everyone cool? Everyone understand that I'm just putting the brakes on this thing till I get a clear picture of what I want to accomplish. Parallel fractals on close to parallel fractals on CL. Watch again above 5905 for a push. And again, the best trades come on a price push against divergence in this thing. We can't seem to get. Last 6 minutes, anything goes in front of London close. Be aware. Big moves either way. I have no idea which way that particular move might be. Just chop, chop, balance. That's usually a pretty damn good short on CL, by the way. I missed that. Usually I've taken it right there. I'm just slow. Watch him evacuate that. Damn, I just wasn't quick enough on the uptake. And London closed 1 minute away. And bam, look at that. I missed the freaking CL too. Guys, I'm just off a little bit today. I apologize. I'll get it straightened out. Just not putting the, look at that. Speed bar, shift up, purple bar, down bar right at the top. Roll. Sorry. I'm just freaking off. Watch for the springs at the lows. As Bill pointed out, 28.22 is the POC. Remember, that's the only place we've gotten a clean move. Up or down, everything else was chop, then go. So I don't know that that's going to change. Usually you'll push up in the New York lunch. That's been the pattern, right? So on the bottom and on the top, I'd agree with that, Zach. Close. They're not exact, but pretty damn close. Like that 3 right there. I would just draw a zone underneath them, right? You get underneath that, and then that's also pushing you underneath your last wave, right? for continuation lower. I feel like I blew. I had CL so drawn out today. I just wanted the second close below. It went on the first. So yes, just realize it's in balance. Watch for the spring, right? So you just got the biggest push to the bottom. So what you'd want, like remember when we looked yesterday, speed bar up, speed bar down, close underneath, speed bar up, and then immediate fail. Something to that effect that would let you know they're going to give it up over here because they've responded off of every speed bar on the bottom. So what would be nice is to get a speed bar with no response and a tight stop. Like that right there on ES. See that? You would have expected that to go. You wouldn't expect speed bar up, down bar. So, right, a tight trade to try to get the continuation is actually shorting that bar with a stop right on top. But the problem is you're giving away 2 points every time. And if we're chopping, which we are, we're at the bottom of balance on ES and NQ, right? If we're chopping or trapping right on the edge, that's a hard trade to pull off where you're like, okay, am I just putting myself in on a trade that's going to have, when they're just running it up and down freely, obviously what we're doing is overloading shorts on one end and overloading longs on the other end and just running both sides of that. It makes our setups a lot harder. Why? Because we're in a larger balance. We got to get below 28.20 overall to get out of this balance, so we got to get above that 28.40, and we're just running this range up and down. Shift up, down bar, roll. Gosh, I'm frustrated on CL. There's your parallel fractals. There's your close below. What you want to do is, if you take that, your stop's right there, 2 pennies above. Right? So 58.67 against 58.22. It's 58.82, excuse me. 83. Let's see, it's starting to look like a spring now. So I don't know what to tell you. They're making it hard as hell. The PA is odd. That's close one underneath those as well. Watch for close number 2 as well. And what you want to do on that also, so remember that 11 to 12 has my highest stop rate, but also look what's right below you. That anomaly they're working off of. So if you short it, that's your target, right? That's got to go to get underneath here. That's a valid support area. We went right to it to the tick, right? And this is just chop, 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 chop. So spring, I don't know how the volume was on that. You're better at that than I am. The potential spring, break underneath, spring, push. And that was my concern. That's why if you're asking why I'm hesitating, it's because that's been the behavior all day. Has been really kind of make it tricky at the bottom, suck them all in and run them up the other way. That's why I've been off today, because I do better when it's flowing up and down. So what I would watch is all those fractals, second close below, and I would guess that that support is going to go, Zach. And it's just a guess, but it would be my guess. Like NQ just came straight out of its anomaly from earlier. We've been bouncing here all day. It's the bottom of the range, right? So ended up being a spring. See that? I'll be right back. Trappity trap trap. This is what we're coming up to test on CL, that bar. Last shift up, they put a lot of energy into it. Most likely what we are coming up to test. And we're just stuck in that damn wave. Look at that. That is some bullshit right there. And of course, we go straight back up. Why wouldn't we do that? Guys, this is hard trading. I'm telling you right now, when the 5-minute bars keep folding on top of each other, it is brutal, right? We're directionless, go nowhere trading into the 50, bouncing between the low and the 50, 60 of the day. Excuse me a second, guys. Okay, will you please vacuum the upstairs? Just get every, make sure there's no ground force on the bugs. Your room, baby's room, all like it. Please go get lunch soon. How you doing? Huh? Okay. Hey guys on YouTube, I'm going to kill it because I got nothing to teach from markets just folding over itself. Right? So that wasn't my best morning. I was looking for that second close below. Usually that happens on CL. They just broke it down. So straight up, straight down, and I kind of missed both sides. My goal is not to get run over. I did get run over a little bit at the bottom. I don't mind the stops when they're 2-point stops. That's cool. I do get frustrated not catching the roll when I had it set up. So I hesitated. I didn't hesitate. I just didn't have it set up. So I wasn't going to take it almost no matter what happened. I wanted the second close underneath when I start off with that much strength on the day. Anyways, thanks for joining me. I'll be back tomorrow. If you have any questions, you can email me at tradeandperform@gmail.com. Have a great day, guys.